In this video, we're going to give just a brief look here at what is known as the Peloponnesian War. Of course, Peloponnesia is that area in the southern part of Greece. And so one way in which to think about kind of once again, the causes or the reason for the Peloponnesian War really can be taken from this quote, was the freedom of Greece as a whole compatible with the freedom of its individual states. So, in other words, what we have here in Greece during this time, so we're looking here again at the kind of the 5th century, is whether or not um, each individual city-state is free to prosper and to flourish, but it has to, in order for one city-state to be free, it sometimes has to enslave or capture, destroy other city-states. So it really becomes an issue of how do city-states within Greece relate to each other, and what are the city-states in the Peloponnese, in Attica, how do they see themselves and the ways in which they can prosper, and is the only way to prosper is enslaving other city-states. So tensions particularly arise between Sparta. Sparta is a place in the Peloponnese that has military might. Their men, their landowners, their aristocracy go through a lot of military training in order to expand their power and influence and to take resources from neighboring areas. So they have the military might, and they have an alliance with other smaller, weaker, inferior cities in the Peloponnese. Then you have Athens, and it's an economic might. So it's very wealthy. It does have a fleet. It has ships. And it also has the Eastern Greeks. That is, those Greeks there on Asia, in Asia Minor, who support them, who look back to Athens, because they are part of colonization of places like Athens. And so there really arises tension between Sparta and Athens as to which of these city-states should be the dominant city-state in order to build or, as it were, coalesce the entire region around itself. Now, we get a lot of information about the Peloponnesian War from a particular person that we're going to talk about here, who's pictured here, Thucydides. So what we're going to have here is the rise of an Athenian empire with its influence in Asia Minor, so from 478 to 431. So this rise of Athenian empire becomes a threat to Sparta. So Thucydides here is our source for understanding the Peloponnesian War. And so this is a person who was a military leader in his own right. He was a historian, but he also raised the philosophical questions, such as the nature of people and the nature of states. So he's not just a historian describing, as it were, what conflicts takes place, and promoting a particular propaganda or agenda from that end, but he's also a person engaging in larger philosophical questions about the nature of people and as a part of the causes of wars and the makeup of a state. So when we look at the Peloponnesian War, we're really going to focus here on 3 major periods. So these are conflicts between Sparta and Athens and their various alliances. So you can see here in this slide a map of the area. So the first period, from 431 to 421 BCE, this is the Peloponnesian League that's led by Sparta attacks Athens. So you can see Sparta and its Peloponnesian leagues, all there in kind of that pink color. So it not only includes the Peloponnese, but it also includes areas north and west of Athens. So it's going to continue to make these attacks against Athens during this period. So that's a 10-year period. And remember one thing about warfare in ancient times, warfares are pretty limited by seasons. In the ancient world, they typically don't fight wars in the wintertime because it is much more difficult, especially by sea, to have goods that are shipped during the winter. Of course, it's harder to fight when people are cold. It's harder to get goods by. You don't have as much fresh goods available. So warring really just takes place around the early spring, and so in March to around September or maybe October. So we sometimes see these lengthy times for war periods that are going on, and that's due because of just when you can go to battle, and then you have to stop sieges, you have to stop activities, and then you have to go back to families and regroup and re-strengthen and restock before you can attack again. So then there's a second period from 421 to 413 where there are really these kind of ad hoc battles. It's not really where all groups are kind of gathered together to lay their weight upon one place or another, but there's just these excursions that take place. Then there is a third period, so from 413 to 404 BC, and this is the Ionian War, where the Persians are helping the Spartans. So in one way, Athens is seen as the real threat that Persia has to take care of, because Athens has these relationships with these coastal Greek cities that they send goods to, and who are their colonists, and so they have this kind of affinity, this cultural context, this ethnic context. And so as you can see on this map, with Persia being kind of in the purple, they are right there on the verges with these cities. They've already taken over some. They want to take over more, and they need Athens to be weakened. And so Persia is going to help the Spartans. So the Spartans are going to see the Persians as benefactors. They're going to see them as friends or as allies. And so that's going to play an important role here very soon with the rise of Philip of Macedon, and then with Alexander the Great, this Sparta's connection with Persia. So at one time, the Spartans are the ones who are fighting against the Persians. But now the Spartans need the help of the Persians as they're fighting their own kind of internal battle or internal struggle with Athens. And so what's referred to here as the Peloponnesian War is just this internal activity that's going on for control of the area and for how they're going to see themselves as each having kind of their own independence, but nevertheless try to coalesce around some sense of league or some sense of unified group, because you do have enemies such as the Persians just kind of knocking on your door at any minute. All right, we will stop there with that brief little introduction to what the Peloponnesian War is.